Hello all, welcome to oratrainings.com. Welcome to Python programming. We'll just have a quick introduction to Python and few samples in Python programming language. We'll discuss about some background of the history of the Python and what are the tools required for a developer to work with Python and few sample programs. So Python was conceived in the late 1980 and it is based on another programming language called ABC programming language. From there, the fundamentals of Python was built and later, a Python programming language was built by this developer, Guido van Rossum. And one information of the Python is like Python is an interpreted high-level general purpose programming language. So in any of the programming language, generally we have two types of programming language, either compiler based or interpreted based. Another one is here, if you observe, it is a high-level programming language. Nothing but it is a developer-friendly language where the keywords, whatever you write it, it is very user-friendly rather than the machine-friendly language. Other one is general-purpose programming language. So it is not specific to any kind of functionality. I mean to say, like some set of programming languages are specially designed for the database purposes, some are especially for the microprogramming purposes, some are for the web based purposes, or some based for the IoT purposes. Different kind of programming languages are there for different purposes, but for Python it is general purpose language and it is used in many across different particular platforms. And the latest version of Python is 3.9.1, and also you can find out the latest version from this particular link, or you can also download the appropriate Python runtime from this particular provided link. Okay, so this is a high level introduction of Python, like who invented and what is kind of language, as well as the from where we can download the software. Let's see the next slide. To start with, what we require the Python runtime environment, and also you require any of the an editor. It can be a notepad plus plus. If you don't require any of the high, IDEs, you can just work with a notepad. So first thing is download the runtime environment, and using notepad plus plus you can you can write your program, and from the command prompt you can compile the program. Or if you're not comfortable with the notepad plus plus, there are a number of free IDs available. Some of them are like this: Visual Studio, Sublime, or PyCharm. Many are there. I just provide only few IDEs here. Okay, so in my case, I'm just working with a notepad plus plus. That is well enough initially. Later on, we can check with a different kind of IDEs. Okay, and once you install Python, how do you validate, is it working fine, or whether the installation is correct or not? How do you validate? Let us see the next slide. So what you can do is, once you install the Python, what happens is, like at the Python by default, it'll consider in your the location, the runtime location, based on your user configuration. So let it go with the default. Once a Python is installed successfully, what you can do is you can just simply go to the command prompt and just type Python. If you're able to see this particular screenshot, like maybe it will tell you the Python version number, as well as it will just give you the three angular brackets with nothing but a Python prompt. Okay, and also if you observe one more thing in the below screenshot, like these are the different set of shortcuts. One is for the idle, nothing but the a simple IDE from Python, it is called idle. Other one is a Python runtime environment, like the Python prompt. Whenever you type Python, right, this particular executable will be invoked. Okay, this is how we can validate a Python. Okay, so I'll just go to my command prompt. If you just observe here, like if I just type Python, it just provides me this particular stuff. Okay, and you can also type print hello world like this. Okay, you got the output, right? And if at all, if you want to get exit, just press Ctrl Z. Okay, now let's see the next slide. Let us write a very simple program in the Python program. Whenever you develop, whenever you learn, I mean to say, whenever you start learning any programming language, always we try to work with a very simple sample rather than making it complicated. Let us always start with a very simple program, which is generally follow with designing of hello world program. Okay, so like there are a number of ways we can deal with. So here, if you observe the sample, the first line which I mentioned is hash. Hash is for the commenting stuff. Okay, hash is for the purpose of comment, whatever you write it, which will not be compiled by the runtime environment. It is just only for the developer comment purpose. And the first line is a comment, and after that I mentioned the command called print hello world in the single quotes, or you can also mention in the double quotes. Other Third line, it is again another comment. In the fourth line, I mentioned addition of 2 comma 3 is 2 plus 3. Other one, multiplication of 3 into 15 is 3 into 15 I mentioned. So whatever it is mentioned in the single quotes, that will not be calculated or interpreted. It just simply considered as a string, and it will be printed in the output exactly what we have written. But whatever you mention without single quotes, that will be performed accordingly. Nothing but if it is an expression, it will validate, it will calculate and provide the result. Here, if you observe the screenshot, it provided addition of 2 comma 3 is 5, multiplication of 3 into 15 is 45. And also some more information on the print function. What is a print? Print is a function which takes an expression or a string or an object in the input and provides the output on the standard output device. It is similar to the printf in C language, or a system.out.println in the Java language, or dbms underscore output dot put underscore line in the database language. Okay, so many of the programming language always have a print functionality. Similarly, we have in the Python also. Okay, let us write the program using our notepad, then we can get some comfortness in that, right? So I'll just open my notepad. Okay, I'll just save my program first.py. Okay, the extension which I mentioned is py. Okay, sample comment line. Okay, so we don't have any special symbol for the multi-line comment. We just have only symbol. We have just only single what you call like a symbol for the single line or multi-line comment. Okay, I'll just write print. This is the information I want to print in the output. Okay, calculation of 2 into is, okay, just mention 2 into 3. Just see what happens now. What I do is I'll go to the command prompt. Okay, now here if you observe, I have, let me clear this one. So I have these set of programs. What is our program name? Just mention the Python executable name, Python, followed by your program name. So the program name is first.py, execute it. So here if you observe, unlike Java or C language, it will not generate any other extra file. Whatever the program which you mentioned, that will be considered as an input and it will provide the output if it is proper. Okay, it doesn't generate any class or obj or exe file like that. Okay, it just interpreted and provide the output here on the command prompt. So here if you observe, this is info I want to print in the output, and calculation of 2 into 3 is 6. Okay, let us see another sample. So as of now, we are not getting into deeper. We just want to have a high level functionality of initial set of samples. Let's see the next one. Okay, so here if you observe, in this sample, what we are trying to do is we are trying to get the current date and time. We want to get the current date as well as time. So here, if you observe the first two lines, we provided from date time import date, from date time import date time. So we are trying to import the library from other programs, like similar to the Java language or C language. Whenever you write any program, if at all, if you want to call the standard libraries which are already available, you need to import the libraries first. Like in Java, generally we write import command followed by java.io.math or something. And similarly in the C language, you'll write include stdio.io.h or conio conio.h, right? Like that. In Python also, we have to import the appropriate libraries, whichever like if you want to invoke. In this case, I want to invoke the date and time, so I provided the from clause from command for those things. And then like I just wrote some sample. So first thing here, if you observe, like x is equal to 10, y is equal to Smith, z is equal to so and so, like just printed the salary. After that, today is equal to date dot today. So what exactly it will do is it will get the current date, that is first functionality. And other one, date time dot now, it will get the current time. Okay, so that is what we're trying to achieve. Like let us try to execute this from runtime, then we can again consider. So let us see Python. So sample is variable dot, yeah. So here if you observe, Smith salary is 1000 not 5. Today's date is like 2nd January. Other one is time, right? It's just printing the time. So we can get the appropriate time here, like 13:52, right? So nothing but 1:52 p.m. Okay. So before winding up, let us see some information on the variable declaration. Okay. So unlike another programming language, we doesn't need to mention the we doesn't need to mention the data type of the variable. Here, if you observe for the x or y, I have not mentioned what is the data type. Even for z, z was a floating, y is a character, x is an integer. But here we doesn't need to explicitly mention any data type. Like if you consider the Java or C language, you have to explicitly mention the data type. Even the PL SQL, you need to mention the explicit data type. But in the Python, you doesn't need to mention them. It will be internally considered what data type it is. Based on that, it will perform the appropriate calculation. Okay, so now based on that, it will consider the type internally. We doesn't need to explicitly mention that. And other information is like we have to follow appropriate naming convention. It always has to start with only alphanumeric. You cannot have the underscore stuff. It can have, I mean to say, a variable can only contain either alphanumeric and underscore. Okay, variable names are case sensitive. Even the same thing in many other programming languages, and it cannot start with a number. That's what I want to tell you. It cannot start with a number. Okay, and if at all, if you want to convert the type conversion, if it, you can do it. Now let us say, if at all, if you want to add x plus y, obviously it will not work. But if at all, if you want to convert explicitly, you can mention that. So later on we can see some more other samples, but as of now, these are the very simple samples we just considered. But in the coming session, we'll discuss more set of functionalities. Okay, thank you.